vice mayor is really the president of the council. You get to vote when there's a tie, but your main job is to make sure that the council members get an opportunity to present their bills, especially on the nights that we have zoning bills. Those members get to give their opinions. Other council members get to give their opinions of your zoning bills as well as their own. But then when the neighbors are there, those individuals that get to stand up and they get to say whether they're for the bill, whether they're against the bill, why they're for a bill, why they're against the bill, and why and how it would affect their neighbors, how it would affect themselves, whether they would want those houses built next door to them or not. The vice mayor has an opportunity to help individuals who are just getting on the council. This is a council that will probably have 30 new members. What the vice mayor will do will pick a chairman of all of the committees, and then we'll pick the individuals who serve on those committees. And what you hope you do is you put people on those committees that they're interested in and that they have a background in, if possible. If there's a retired policeman or a retired fireman, that person may want to be on public safety. If you have a CPA, that person may want to serve on the finance committee. The vice mayor's role is especially important because you determine who gets to speak and how long they get to speak. We have a key, I guess we would call it, that you look at and you see who is in that key that wants to vote or wants to speak, and you determine who gets to speak next. And sometimes it can make the difference as to whether an individual gets their voice heard or not, or just how long the debate is be held on a particular bill, or whether or not the bill may even be passed or deferred. The vice mayor can determine that by a whole lot of times by just who he chooses to speak. It's so important now to have the vice mayor in a position where the vice mayor has had experience as a district council member, as I have had as 16 years district council member and 8 years as a at-large council member, and has had experience in the state legislature, because this, for the first time in the history of metropolitan government, there will be possibly 30 new council members. That's 75% of the council will turn over. That's never happened in the history of the Metropolitan Council in our 50 years of being here since 1963. If there's ever a time when experience is valuable, this may be the time. And I think that I'm the person that has that experience, since I've had an opportunity to serve in all those offices at one time or another. We have one of the biggest councils in the United States. I think we're the third largest. Without leadership, it's difficult to bring together enough people to get a problem solved. You may have 40 people going in 40 different directions trying to solve a problem. Individuals need to have a leader to bring those ideas together and to bring those individuals together to solve that problem. It may be as little as getting a road paved or getting a sidewalk rebuilt or a new sidewalk built. But if you don't have someone who is able to bring those individuals together as a vice mayor should, then it makes it difficult, it takes more time, and in some cases it doesn't get done. A vice mayor should be able to be that leader and should be able to bring those individuals together with the mayor and his team to go forward with what those ideas might be. The less experience that the council has and the less experience that the vice mayor has, it means the more power that the mayor has. Our charter already gives the mayor a great deal of power. With a council that has the least amount of experience, and with the number that we're going to have that's going to have less than 4 years of experience, which would be some of them will have 4 years of experience. It will probably be a situation where whoever the next mayor will be able to convince council members that the direction the mayor wants to go in, that's how they'll vote. Since there is not any experience in there, there's not a way for those council members to defer a bill or to defer a idea or to even get their own ideas heard. It's just difficult if you have not been in that position for very long. Understanding the budget usually takes just a couple of years at least, just to even know who the director is, how the budget's put together, how to be able to read the budget when it comes before you. It's an inch and a half thick. And it's, while you always got help, and we have good people in our office that can help you with that, there are 40 people that are trying to get to that person to get help all at the same time. What I hope to do to shorten the curve for the council members that are going to be elected is to be available and at meetings when normally the vice mayor doesn't go. In the years past, in all of my years past, the vice mayor usually doesn't show up at many of the committee meetings. And I have decided that I think that in this particular case, with as many new council members that we have, that maybe the vice mayor needs to show up at more of the committee meetings so that when people ask questions, if they don't have the answers, with the history that I have, having been there since the 80s, that I will be able to answer those questions. When I came in '83, that was the biggest advantage that I had. There were individuals on the council and the vice mayor who was there at that time, David Scobie. He had experience and had been there for several years, and so it was very easy for me to get answers from the vice mayor because all I had to do was ask him. He was there and he'd been there for 15 or 20 years. I hope that I serve in that in the same purpose. Since I've been there for a few years, I can be more helpful to those council members as to why we went this direction 10 years ago, why we didn't do something 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and where we might want to go if in the next 5 years. Being available is still the #1 issue. Being able to find you, to get you, having the same telephone number for 40 years, being able to contact you by telephone, being able to contact you by email. I still enjoy talking to people on the telephone, which is a little easier to communicate with. Those individuals who need help should be able to find you. And it's not hard to find me. I mean, the business that I've been in all my life is being an undertaker, and you have to be available, and so I'm not very hard to find. Those new council members need to find somebody at 8 o'clock at night or at 6 o'clock in the morning versus the business hours when they can go to our legal director and get direction. They need to find somebody that they can call to get an answer to a question, or at least lead them in the direction to find the answer. And we've got over 50 departments in Metro now, so there's over 50 department heads, and sometimes it gets difficult to find those department heads. And if being the vice mayor, it should be my job to make sure that those council members are able to get to those department heads and to get an answer from those department heads in a reasonable time. If experience means something to a job, I am the best candidate for vice mayor at this time. The relationship that I have with all the directors that have been in Metro for several years, the leadership that it takes to get those council members to those department heads, and the fact that I have that ability to bring those individuals together when there's a problem in their district. I've been there, I've been in their shoes for 16 years. I was a district council member, have been an at-large council member for 8 years. I know what it takes to bring those relationships together, and I think that's what makes me the best candidate for vice mayor. This may be the one time that the council needs experience in the vice mayor's seat, and I think that's the reason that I should be your vice mayor. And I get used to saying council member because I've been a council member seems like all of my life. It's difficult to call myself vice mayor, but I think at this particular time there needs to be an individual who has had experience as a district council member. That person needs to be your vice mayor. In the last few minutes, you've learned a lot about me. You've learned about my experience. You've learned about the leadership that I've had over the last few years being a council member. You've learned a lot about why I want to be your vice mayor. August the 6th is Election Day. Early voting starts in the middle of July. I hope you'll go to the polls and vote for Tim Garrett for vice mayor. Thank you.